Well, hello and welcome to Story Time. Today we're going to talk about scarecrows. Scarecrows are really funny things that stand out in farmers' fields, and they scare the birds away to keep the animals from eating all the crops. So our first story is called Barn Dance by Bill Martin Jr. Full moon shining big and bright, pushing back the shadows, holding back the night. Not a thing stirring, quiet as could be, just as the whisper of the leaves on the cottonwood tree. Old hound dog whining in his sleep, dreaming after rabbits in a game of hide and seek. Over the farmhouse all the lights were out, farmer and his wife and kids, not one about. All except the skinny kid with questions in his head, much too full of wonderment to spend the night in bed. He was up and listening when the night owl said, "Come a little closer, come a little closer. Listen to the night, there's magic in the air." Then a skinny kid heard it faint begin, a plink, plink, plink on the wind's violin. Coming from the cornfield, sweet and soft and low, music honeyed up by the old scarecrow, a plinking on the fiddle strings to tune 'em up just so. The scarecrow tucked the fiddle underneath his chin and fiddled out a welcome to all his country kin. He fiddled through the woods and the fields and all around the farm, bidding everybody come to a hoedown in the barn. There was so much chit and chatter when the critters all arrived that no one saw the skinny kid oozle in and hide, just in time to hear the crow call the dance, "Begin! Grab yourself a partner and jump right in." Right hand, left hand, round you go. Now back to back your partner in a do-si-do. Mules to the center for a curtsy and a bow. And hey there, skinny kid, show the old cow how. Out came the skinny kid, a tickin' and a talkin', and a hummin' and a yee-hawin' and a rockin' and a sockin', and he danced his little toe through a hole in his stockin'. He leapt the apple barrel and the pumpkins in a pile, and he showed 'em how to wagon wheel barnyard style. Now rock into the moon and powder puff your noses and hurry home to mama and your little pink toeses. 5 times, 10 times, 15, 20. Now spin once again, and that's a plenty. But the fat little pigs whirled round and round till they got so dizzy that they all fell down. The sky was warming up for the coming of day when the skinny kid heard the night owl say, "Morning's coming closer, morning's coming closer. The magic time is over, night'll soon be gone." The old dog stretched and blinked a sleepy eye, just a blink too late to see the skinny kid slip by. He tiptoed through the kitchen and tiptoed up the stairs, quiet as a feather on a breath of air. He hummed a little do-si-do and flopped himself in bed, with the wonders of a barn dance dancing in his head. And that is the end of that story. What letter does Scarecrow start with? It has this beginning sound, S. Do you know what letter makes a sound S? You're right, it is letter S. And a letter S is a squiggly letter. See, you start here and you go round and then back again. So we have a capital S and a lowercase s. And this is the word Scarecrow. It's a big word. Our next story is titled Witch Hazel by Alice Shirtle. Bill, Bart, and Johnny were brothers, and Johnny was the youngest. They lived in a little cabin in a little clearing in the middle of a wild wood. While Bill and Bart worked the clearing with pick and plow and a two-man saw, Johnny ran wild in the wild wood. He listened to the wind whisper its strange secrets in the branches of the hemlock trees, and he knew the wood for a place where anything might happen. When spring came, Bill and Bart plowed a patch for corn, one pulling and one pushing. Johnny wanted to help. "You're too little," said Bill. "You're too young," said Bart. But they were fond of Johnny, so they gave him a handful of pumpkin seeds. Johnny dug a hole and dropped the seeds in one by one. The older boys forgot about Johnny's seeds, but Johnny didn't forget. Every day he poured a cupful of water over the dirt, and down in the ground, dark and moist and silent, life stirred in the slumbering seeds. When a narrow vine fingered its pale way into the sunshine, Johnny wanted to make a scarecrow. "To save my pumpkins from the birds," he said. "You're too little to make a scarecrow," said Bill. "You're too young," said Bart. But they were fond of Johnny, so they cut a high branch from a witch hazel bush and stuck it deep into the ground. "Put a pair of overalls on it," said Bill. "It'll do for a scarecrow," said Bart. Johnny got a burlap sack from the barn in a corner of the loft. Inside a dusty trunk, he found a gingham dress and an old bonnet. "Hazel will keep the birds away from my pumpkins," said Johnny. The vine grew, twining and twisting its way around the scarecrow. When the big creamy blossoms opened up on it, birds helped themselves. There was only one pumpkin, and it was hidden by a folded, faded gingham. Maybe that's why the birds missed it. "Only one pumpkin," said Bill. "That scarecrow couldn't scare a butterfly." "You should have used overalls," Bart agreed, but Johnny said Hazel saved the best one. During the long, hot days, the brothers' cornstalks reached toward the summer sun. The one pumpkin grew from the size of a teacup to the size of a teapot. Autumn came, the corn ripened sweet as sugar, and the one pumpkin turned from greenish gold to orange. Bill and Bart piled a cart high with the corn and made ready to take it to the harvest fair. Johnny wanted to go too. "You're too little," said Bill. "We won't be home till morning." "You're too young," said Bart. "Maybe next year." But they were fond of Johnny, so they offered to sell his pumpkin at the fair. "Though it's only a one-pie pumpkin," Bill told him. "Someone might pay a penny for it," said Bart. Johnny shook his head. "Hazel saved the best one," he said. "It's not for sale." After the brothers had set off, one pulling and one pushing, Johnny picked the last yellow flowers off the witch hazel bush. He stuck some in the rim of Hazel's bonnet and wound some through her buttonholes. The rest he wove into a chain of yellow blossoms and slipped it over her burlap head. He turned an apple crate on end and placed the one pumpkin on it in a nest of hazel leaves. Johnny sat in the soft dust of the garden. He listened to the wind whisper through the dry cornstalks and watched a beetle run up a gingham sash. When the first stars blinked open in the darkening sky, the wind grew cold. He went to the cabin, ate his dinner, and went to bed. He woke in the dark. Outside, the wind whistled and moaned, and the branches of the hemlock tree rubbed against the cabin roof. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Johnny padded across the wooden floor and stood listening. The wind sang down the stone chimney. "Annie!" He pulled open the heavy oak door and stepped outside. Stars glittered in the moonlit sky as if the night itself had a million eyes. Ani, sang the wind, and the black shapes of hemlocks bent and bowed like shadowy dancers. Johnny picked his way barefoot across the dark clearing and into the garden. She stood in her gingham dress, rocking back and forth to the music of the wind. Held in her bent brown arms, the one pumpkin glowed softly. As Johnny watched, hidden among the cornstalks, Hazel tossed the orange globe into the air. It arced slowly upward through the black sky and hung like a lantern among the stars. Ani, sang the wind, Ani. And Hazel held out her crooked arms. Dipping, swaying, bowing, turning, she danced beneath the pumpkin moon. Johnny watched till his eyes grew heavy and his head sank down upon his knees. While the orange moon turned slowly among the stars, he felt himself lifted and carried and laid at last in his own bed. Something rough like burlap brushed his cheek, and he smelled the spicy odor of witch hazel blossoms. When he opened his eyes, bright sunlight was streaming through the window. During the night, a windstorm had littered the clearing with small branches torn from the trees. In the garden, Johnny found pieces of broken pumpkin shell and a pile of yellow pulp next to an overturned apple crate. Hazel was gone. Johnny picked a handful of seeds out of the stringy pumpkin pulp. He dropped the seeds one by one into a hole and covered them with dirt. The older boys were surprised to find Johnny already working in the garden. "Johnny's growing up," said Bill. "He'll be old enough to go to the fair next year," Bart agreed. "But there'll never be another harvest fair like this one. You should have seen it, Johnny. The biggest harvest moon you ever saw rose right up over the fair." "Biggest orange moon you ever saw," said Bill. "There will never be another harvest moon like that one." "Never," said Bart. He patted Johnny on the shoulder. "Never," said Bill. He picked a yellow flower out of Johnny's hair. Johnny only smiled. He was fond of his brothers and didn't like to tell them they were wrong. Suddenly a gust of wind shivered the branches of the witch hazel bush, and under the ground the pumpkin seeds waited for spring. Okay, so did you know books have a top and a bottom? And we always read holding the book with the top up. It would be hard to read a book if we held it this way, wouldn't it? The words would be all upside down. This one is called Scarecrow by Cynthia Rylant. His hat is borrowed, his suit is borrowed, his hands are borrowed, even his head is borrowed, and his eyes probably came out of someone's drawer. What are they making? But a scarecrow's life is all his own. It takes a certain peace hanging around a garden all day. It takes a love of silence and air, a liking for long, slow thoughts, a friendliness towards birds. Yes, birds, crows, grackles, starlings, jays. Ask them how they feel about a scarecrow, and they'll say lovely. They ignore the pie-pan hands and the button eyes and see instead the scarecrow's best gift, his gentleness. They line up on his arms and can chat all day. He knows he isn't real. A scarecrow understands right away that he has just borrowed parts made to look like somebody. But he knows this too, that there is a certain wonder going on around him. Seeds are being planted, and inside them there are 10-foot-tall sunflowers and mammoth pumpkins and beans that just go on forever. And though the Scarecrow knows that he can as quickly be turned back into straw and buttons as he was turned into a man, he doesn't care. He has been with the owls in the evening and the rabbits at dawn. He has watched a spider work for hours making a web of lace. He has seen the sun tremble and the moon lie still. The Scarecrow doesn't care what he's made of or how long he might last, for he has been a witness to life. The earth has rained and snowed and blossomed and wilted and yellowed and greened and vined itself all around him. His hat has housed mice, and his arms have rested birds. The morning glory held tight to his legs, and a worm is living in his lapel. There's not much else a person might want, and the Scarecrow knows this. So he doesn't mind that there is always a smile on his face, or that his eyes are always open. He doesn't mind being up high. He doesn't mind staying there. The wind is brushing his borrowed head, and the sun is warming his borrowed hands. The clouds are floating across his button-borrowed eyes. The Scarecrow is thinking long, slow thoughts. What do you think he's thinking about? And soon, birds will be coming by. The end. So up here, I have a little barn. And we're gonna do a little rhyme called the Dingle Dangle Scarecrow. So when all the cows were sleeping and the sun had gone to bed, up jumped the Scarecrow. And this is what he said. I am a dingle dangle scarecrow with a flippy floppy hat. I can shake my hands like this, and I can shake my feet like that. When all the hens, here's a hen, when all the hens were roosting and up the moon behind a cloud, up jumped a Scarecrow and shouted very loud. I'm a dingle dangle scarecrow with a flippy floppy hat. I can shake my hands like this, and I can shake my feet like that. When the dog was in the kennel and the doves were in the loft, up jumped the Scarecrow and whispered very soft. I'm a dingle dangle scarecrow with a flippy floppy hat. I can shake my hands like this, and I can shake my feet like that. Now you try it. Can you shake your hands and feet like a scarecrow? Good job. So our next story is the little old lady who was not afraid of anything. Are you afraid of something? It's okay that if you are. Everybody's afraid of something. And this is written by Linda Williams. Once upon a time, there was a little old lady who was not afraid of anything. One windy afternoon, the little old lady left her cottage and went for a walk in the forest to collect herbs and spices and nuts and seeds. She walked so long and so far that it started to get dark. There was only a silver moon shining through the night. The little old lady started to walk home. Suddenly, she stopped. Right in the middle of the path were two big shoes, and the shoes went clump, clump. Get out of my way, you two big shoes. I'm not afraid of you, said the little old lady, and she walked down the path. But behind her, she could hear two shoes go clump, clump. A little further on, the little old lady stumbled into a pair of pants, and the pants went wiggle, wiggle. "Get out of my way, you pair of pants. I'm not afraid of you," said the little old lady, and she walked on. But behind her, she could hear two shoes go clump, clump, and one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle. Further still, the little old lady bumped into a shirt, and the shirt went shake, shake. "Get out of my way, you silly shirt. I'm not afraid of you," said the little old lady, and on she walked a little bit faster. But behind her, she could hear two shoes go clump, clump, one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle, and one shirt go shake, shake. A little ways on, the little old lady came upon two white gloves and a tall black hat. And the gloves went clap, clap, and the hat went nod, nod. "Get out of my way, you two white gloves and you tall black hat. I'm not afraid of you," she said, and on she walked just a little bit faster. But behind her she could hear two shoes go clump, clump, one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle, one shirt go shake, shake, and two gloves go clap, clap, and one hat go nod, nod. By now the little old lady was walking at quite a fast pace. She was very near her cottage when she was startled by a very huge, very orange, very scary pumpkin head. And the head went boo, boo. This time the little old lady did not stop to talk. She did not stop at all. She ran. But behind her she could hear two shoes go clump, clump, one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle, one shirt go shake, shake, two gloves go clap, clap, one hat go nod, nod, and one scary pumpkin head go boo, boo. The little old lady did not look back. She ran as fast as she could and didn't stop to catch her breath until she was safe inside her cottage with the door locked. She sat in her chair by the fire and she rocked and rocked. It was so quiet in her cottage before the knock, knock on the door. Should she answer it? Well, she was not afraid of anything, so she went to the door and opened it. What do you think she saw? Two shoes go clump, clump, one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle, one shirt go shake, shake, two gloves go clap, clap, one hat go nod, nod, and one scary pumpkin head go boo, boo. "I'm not afraid of you," said the little old lady bravely. "What do you want anyway?" "We've come to scare you." "You can't scare me," said the little old lady. "Then what's to become of us?" The pumpkin's head suddenly looked unhappy. "I have an idea," said the little old lady. She whispered into the pumpkin's ear. The pumpkin head nodded and his face seemed to brighten. The little old lady said good night, closed the door, and whistled on the way to bed. The next morning she woke up early. She went to her window and looked out into her garden. And what do you think she saw? Two shoes go clump, clump, one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle, one shirt go shake, shake, two gloves go clap, clap, one hat go nod, nod, and one scary pumpkin head go boo, boo, and scare all the crows away. Well, thank you for joining me for story time this week. And remember, all the October children's programs at the library will be either digital or take-home kits. There will be no in-person programs. Thanks a lot. Bye.